How many people here today remember where you were when the attacks of 9/11 took place? How many times did you sit in front of the TV and watch the families of lost loved ones? There were so many hearts broken, families torn, and homes shattered by the lives lost. In each of the last 4 years, more than 6,000 transplant recipients, which is more than twice the number of lives lost in the 9/11 attacks, have died while waiting in vain for the needed organs. My name is Beth Hogue, and I'm here to talk to you about organ transplants. My father was born with only one kidney, and it hasn't functioned right in the past 20 years. I've been interested in this topic since I can remember knowing what it meant, and I've poured countless hours of research into this topic. For the next 5 minutes, I will share with you 3 possible reasons for the increasing number of deaths due to lack of organs. One being people don't understand the history of organ donations. 2, myths and misconceptions that are often considered to be facts, and simply because people haven't seen the startling numbers. Organ transplants are no longer considered experimental. It's been over 50 years since the first successful organ transplant. Since this time, transplant success rates have improved dramatically, and thousands of recipients of kidneys, livers, hearts, and lungs have gone on to live longer and healthier lives. One key element for the success rate is the advancement in surgical techniques and the advancement in immunosuppressive drug therapy. Immunosuppressive drug therapy is basically when a patient takes a drug to trick the body into thinking that that organ that the body would normally think was not theirs is theirs. Otherwise, the body would see it as a threat and try to attack it. Now that we've talked about the history and advancements in organ transplants, let's look a little bit at the myths and misconceptions that people can often have. I've heard it said basically my whole life that if you sign the back of your identification card and you're in an accident, then the emergency personnel won't work on you as diligently as if you weren't a donor. This is a big myth and misconception. The quality of our health care is not a variable to whether we are or are not donors. The first and main priority of all healthcare professionals is to save the patient, and only after all life-saving efforts have been exhausted to the patient or the patient has been declared brain dead do any of the emergency personnel contact the Tennessee donors for our area or the family. Another myth is that donors can only have closed casket funerals. Donors, just like non-donors, can have open casket funerals. The harvesting of the organs sounds bad, but it really has little to no effect on outward appearances. Also, wealth and fame, they play into the equation in no way. In 1984, the National Organ Transplant Act was established, and this prescribes payment to any would-be donors, even if it could increase the supply of organs. Now that we've looked at the history and misconceptions of organ transplants, let's take a quick look at the numbers. As we could have guessed, the number of those waiting on an organ transplant far exceeds those who are organ donors. Another person dies while waiting on an organ every 82 minutes. This adds up to a whopping 18 persons a day who die. Last year, there were about 100,000 people on the official organ transplant list. Only 28,000 of those people received transplants. Another name is added to that list each day. And as the number increases, then in the meanwhile, thousands of organs are buried with would-be potential organ donors that could be life-saving organs. The Donate Life America found that 91% of respondents of a survey were in favor of donating. However, only a third of those had taken any action at all to let their wishes be known to their family. Also, it's important to note that about 50% is what the family rate is of accepting the donation that the family wished for. Now that we've looked over the myths and misconceptions, we've looked over the numbers, and we've saw the history. I think we all have a better understanding of the organ transplant scene. Usually people don't expect bad things to happen to them or their families, but it's most important to know that if it does, then you are armed with the facts. Hopefully none of you will ever have to think of your family in these terms, but if you do, then now you know. Thanks.